a second. So what we want to do is this. So back to our global settings. There. Pretend I didn't even close that up. And if we were to make this guy walk on a line, let's see what happens. Right, so there he goes. And so he starts walking at this very first keyframe. So what we want to do is I think we want to have him walking at a different keyframe. So hang on a second. Let me just stop that. And first off, let me see. So I want you guys to do 6 seconds of animation. So 6 times 30 would be 180. So make the length 180. All right. And we're going to say OK. And the end point, let's bring that to 180, because it was at 100 because that's where it started. And actually at the beginning point, so like I was saying, this is where we put him, and that's where we want him to start walking, and so that's all good, except that I want him to do a little something first. So what I'll do is I'll make him start at, let's say, frame 50, something like that. Okay, so now, see how he's jumped back a little bit? And so at frame 50, he's right where he was before. Okay, now we're good. I think we can close that up. So this is exactly where I wanted him to start. So we're at keyframe 50, right? So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and put an absolute layer on him right there. Important that he's right here because otherwise he won't be in this pose. Okay, and you can see now it looks like nothing is happening. What we want to do is we want to animate this layer. So we want to go ahead and turn on our auto key. And at this point, at 50, we want this layer to go to 0 because this layer is on top, right? And we want it to have 0 influence. So at frame 50, we're going to make that 0. But at frame 49, we want that to be 100. And at frame 0, it's 100. Okay, so that's perfect. So it's 100, 100, so it doesn't look like he's doing anything. And then all of a sudden at frame 50, it jumps to 0 and he starts walking. Okay, so that means that we have 50 frames to play with. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to frame 49. Remember, that's one where it's still 100 and it's got to be 49. Can't do what I'm about to do at 50. And I'm going to select everything right here. And you know what I'm going to do. I'm going to give it just a little bit of a jig jog. All right, now that we've got this keyframe set here, we don't need this one that is set at 0. In fact, we don't want it. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that one. Bring this over here. And at 0, what I want it to be is I want to have this foot flat. So there, and bring that down to 0. And I'm going to bring this other foot over. And I'm going to try and make that at 0 as well. Okay. And his pelvis. Bring that over. And I better look at it this way to make sure I haven't leaned him over to the side too much. So we can see now he's taking a little bit of a glide step, but we know we can fix that. We'll just go ahead and we'll bring that in right about here. We're going to make that platform come up a little bit. As a matter of fact, I think we won't start this until maybe further over. See, so that way this leans into it. Okay, and I think he'll start with his head. Let's see, in that isolation for a second. Yeah, his head's going to be turned way over here. So this way. I'm going to turn this one here. And his pelvis will be turned there. Okay, not too bad. Might be a little extreme, but who knows. Okay, arms maybe forward a little bit. This arm's maybe back a little bit. Okay. And then he'll just turn. Okay, all good. That's a good starting place. All right. He's turning and he walks. And maybe at about, let's see here, 20, 30. So 120, that gives me 2 seconds. Then what we'll do, go ahead and isolate him again. Okay, so at 120, we'll go ahead and we're going to give it another absolute layer. Alrighty. So at 120, we want that to be, let's say, at 0. Right. And all the way over here at 0, we want it to be 0. But at 121, we want it to be 100. Okay, and so at 121, I'm going to give it a little bit of a keyframe just so that it has some action to it. So a little bit of up and down, not much, right? A little bit of back and forth, not much, put them back so that, you don't even see that movement. So then, let's see, I'm going to make him just kind of pause for a split second. So let's see here, I'm going to grab that keyframe and I'm going to hold down the shift key and I'm going to shift it over here to maybe 40. So I think what I'll do is I'll go ahead and I'm going to go up to 150. So just a few seconds or a split second later, starts turning his head. And then what we'll do is we'll give the rest of his body just a little jig jog to hold it there. Okay, so not much, but it's just enough to hold the space. And so then we're going to go all the way over here to 180 and have him turn his head the rest of the way a little bit more. What's more is his body is going to turn. Okay. His feet will plant. his legs, or his feet will turn a little bit too. Okay, and then don't forget the arms. So at this point, his arm is going to go up a bit. And this is a little bit unnatural looking, so bring that forward a bit. And here, his arm is definitely going to swing forward a bit. All right, looks pretty good. Let's see what we've got. Turn off my auto key and that, and let's just click on his head so we can expand his head. We're going to double click on the pelvis, selecting everything, hit the eyes to turn off all those bones. And there we go. What's it looking like? So he's turned around, takes a few steps, pauses. Oh, he heard something. What was that? He turns around.